the car, stop the traffic, get out the barricades. It's time for Mickey B's Jukebox Review.
You're with Mickey B right here on Mickey B's Jukebox Review on Madhouse TV. And tonight is another great night of rock and roll history. We have one of the greatest legends of rock and roll, one of the greatest singing groups of all time, and Frankie D down in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Tell us who's here tonight.
We got the Cookies, Mickey. And who else but Margaret Willans.
That's right. And also, not only Margaret Ross, and Margaret, always a pleasure to see you.
Same
because
here.
We go back a long time ago to about 1961. We'll talk about that. But we also have a historian of rock and roll music, Paul Aranti.
Yeah.
Paul, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Good to be here, as always, Mick.
Frankie D, tell us about, before we get to Margaret, the early years of the Cookies.
Well, Mickey, the early years of the Cookies, actually the Cookies had two histories as a two distinctly different groups. Margaret, right?
Yes.
And that the first group consisted of Margie Hendricks, Ethel McRae, and Pat Lyles. And they went on to, out of Brooklyn, New York, and they went on to record in the early 50s on Aladdin Records. And they had a small success with a couple of songs, and then they go into hiding for a while and come back to us in 1962, Mickey. And why don't you tell us about that?
Well, Margaret, you got started, of course, with the Cookies. When you first got started in the history of the music business, you were back to, of course, Carolina, right, as a young girl.
Yes.
But you started out as, before you get to the Cookies, as a gospel singer in the church.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your history as a little girl. Tell me.
Well, as a little girl of 5 years old, my godfather set me on the piano and he taught me the Lord's Prayer.
Uh-huh.
And from there, I used to travel around with the choir. And I had a little robe and I would sing with them.
Yeah.
So
Now, you moved to New York City when you were what, 12 years old?
12 years old.
12 years old.
Yes.
And you move into the area of Brooklyn, New York,
Yes,
correct?
Coney Island.
Coney Island.
Yes.
And Coney Island today still exists. They got everything happening down there.
Yes.
And it's amazing. What schools did you go to?
Mark Twain Junior High School.
Okay.
And Abraham Lincoln High School.
Abraham Lincoln High School, one of the
Yes.
biggest high schools in all of Brooklyn, New York,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, you're in the high school at that particular time, right? Is that where you met? Well, you know you have cousins that were in the Cookies.
Yes.
So it's easy. You met them when you were born.
Yeah.
So you had a built-in singing group already.
Yes.
Tell us about the girls that made up the Cookies that Frankie's talking about in the early 60s.
Okay, well, one of the names is wrong. I'm sorry, Frankie. But it was Beulah, Dorothy, and Ethel. Pat Lyons came in later on. She was a Raylette.
She was a Raylette.
She was a Raylette. They did background and recordings. And then two of the girls went with Ray Charles to become Raylettes. That's when Earl Jean and I stepped in with Dorothy to continue the Cookies on, you know.
Right.
So.
Now, there's a tremendous history here because in Lincoln High School, is that where you meet the girls? I mean, you have the cousins. I mean, what was going on? Were you singing in hallways at that time? Or what was happening?
Yes. Well, it was Earl Jean and I. After I met Ethel's sister, Earl Jean. She's the one that took me around to introduced me to friends in the school, and then they found that we could sing. And we used to get up on stage at lunchtime and do a little harmony. And Earl Jean was kind of shy, so I used to have to hold her hand and we would harmonize a song or something. But I was always the leader, and we had about 4 or 5 girls in the background trying to do background.
Now, Earl Jean was with you in Lincoln High School?
Oh, yes. In school together, yes.
And then you had your cousins were there as well?
Yeah, no. Well, Dorothy, Earl Jean and I are younger than Dorothy and Ethel, so they had finished high
Who
school.
went on to form the Raylettes?
Well, the Raylettes, Ray Charles gave them the name when they left. When Margie and Ethel left the cookies, Ray Charles gave them the name because they couldn't take the cookies name with them, because Dorothy was still around, you know.
Yeah, so they become the Raylettes. You move on.
Yes.
But the remarkable thing is when you meet or are called by, how did you come to Carole King?
Well, the original cookies, Ethel, Dorothy, and when Margie came in, they were doing the background, but they left to become Raylettes, so Neil knew them before. Mm-hmm. So he called Dorothy and said to her that he needed some background singers.
Right.
And she said to them that she didn't have the girls anymore because they were Raylettes. So he said, well, can you find some girls? So she said, well, I have a cousin Margaret and maybe Ethel's sister Jeannie. We called her Jeannie. Uh-huh. We'll see what's going to happen. I'll try to do that. So that's what she did. And we rehearsed with her. And, well, we used to listen to them rehearse anyway. So me and Jeannie used to be doing our little doo-wops in the background, you know, that kind of thing.
So they say Neil Sedaka calls Carole King.
Yes.
And ask Carole King if she has any background singers that could back him up.
No, it was the opposite way around.
It was the opposite way around.
Yes. I guess Carole must have called Neil, talked to Neil about background singers, and he knew the original cookies.
Okay.
From, you know, the early 50s or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and they.
So the first guy you ever back up is Neil Sedaka.
Neil Sedaka.
On what? Breaking Up is Hard to Do?
Breaking Up is Hard to Do.
Well, here's what I got. Listen to this. I'm going to take you back in time. But we have Neil there. But we have you in the background.
Yeah.
If you want to listen carefully, let's go to this clip. Watch Neil Sedaka right here. Okay, it's not playing? Didn't go on? Let's see if we can get that set up, because that's a great clip over there. We had it on before. But anyway, while it's getting set up, and maybe they'll give me a little thumbs up on it, we could get back to that clip. So anyway, Neil Sedaka, you wind up backing him up on Breaking Up is Hard to Do. Mm-hmm. Did you also do other songs with Neil?
Yeah, Happy Birthday, Sweet 16. What was it?
Right Next Door to an Angel.
Right Next Door to an Angel?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You did a majority of those songs.
Yeah.
Hey Little Devil.
Yeah.
Hey Little Devil,
yes.
wanna get a devil out of you. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about it. I mean, where did you record these songs?
In Mirror Sound Studios.
In Mirror Sound?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
There was another studio. I can't think of the name
Bell.
of it. Bell, okay.
Bell?
See, Paul knows what it is. Yeah, there was 2 studios we used a lot. That was Mirror Sound and Bell.
Yeah, Bell, everybody went to Bell Studios.
Yeah.
Let me see if they got that ready. Is that ready to go? I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's take a little commercial break. When we come back, we're going to see if we can get that back on. How's that? All right? We'll be back with more right after this on Mickey B's Jukebox Review, right here on Madhouse TV.
Hey, I'm Tom Mealy from the Harrison Law Group. You know, soft tissue injury, that's no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. Don't waste valuable time going to firms who don't get it and can't do it. Call 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
Welcome to Shoreline Beverage. We are located on New York Avenue in Huntington, just 1/2 mile north of the Huntington Station for Long Island Railroad. Shoreline Beverage is Long Island's preeminent beverage distributor, specializing in a wide variety of beer, soda, and related items. With our huge selection of craft and imported beer, along with Long Island's largest array of non-alcoholic beverages and soft drinks, you will agree, Shoreline Beverage is your #1 source for all your beverage needs. We also supply ice, kegs, chips, and other snack foods, making Shoreline Beverage a convenient one-stop shopping experience. We offer a huge assortment of cold beverages and feature Long Island's first growler station, serving up 5 fresh beers on tap for your enjoyment. Be sure to check out our website to see what is currently on tap. Our friendly and courteous staff will assist you in every way in order to make every visit to Shoreline Beverage a pleasurable experience. So remember, make Shoreline Beverage your only choice when it comes to your beverage needs. Mention this commercial and receive the free gift on your next visit to Shoreline Beverage.
Old Spice body spray will make you feel so powerful to blow your mind right in front of your face.
Goodbye.
Oh no! It's like I don't. Power.
Automatic freshness, softness, and static control has never been easier with the Bounce Dryer Bar. I just stick it to the inside of my dryer, and I never have to remember.
Old Spice body spray makes you smell like power! It's so powerful it sells itself in other people's commercials. You smell like outdoor freshness.
You smell like power.
Yeah, I do. Power! Power!
Try this routine to feel fresh and clean. Pair Charmin Fresh Mates with your Charmin.
Oh, Spice body spray is too powerful to stay in its own commercial. That's right. Power. Old Spice body spray can change a regular smelling man into a man who smells like power.
Now, how is this? Wow, you know what? I actually do feel more powerful.
Potato chips! Power! It's me.
One resident describes her horrifying experience when she first realized the complex was on fire.
I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Cold pop. Then I thought somebody was barbecuing. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Then I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes or nothing. Jesus, I ran for my life. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Jesus, 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 it's a fire. Oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
For professional motorcycle transport and towing, think Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing. Proudly serving all of Long Island, we feature expert handling and 24/7 service. So send a limo for your toy with Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing.
We're back here with Mickey B, the Prince of Rock and Roll, and of course we have Frankie D down in Florida, and Margaret Williams, the original Cookie. Margaret, how did they come up with the name the Cookies?
Well, you know, before me, the girls were at the Apollo, and they won 3rd place, and they met this guy named Jesse Stone. He became their manager
From Atlantic Records.
From Atlantic Records, and he gave them the name the Cookies.
Gave them the name the Cookies. Paulie, what did you think about a name like the Cookies for a group like that?
It's an interesting name.
Yeah.
You think of crumbs and stuff and cookies and chocolate chips. And crumbs, right?
Margaret, I want you to do a
They
little
had
something.
Sweet Harmony.
Sweet Harmony, that's what it was.
That's right.
You know, we were speaking before about the Neil Sedaka clip, and
Yeah.
of course the Cookies were in the background when you met Neil. I want to show this picture before we start because I think this is really, really great. If we could get a zoom on this picture. This is Neil Sedaka, and he had to be, I don't know how old he was, about 18 years old maybe?
I don't know.
I don't know if you can see that, but that's Neil Sedaka and the Cookies in the studio when they first recorded that song, or rehearsing it at the time, right?
Rehearsing.
Well, here's what we're going to do. Let's go live with Neil Sedaka, and you can listen to the Cookies backing him up on Breaking Up is Hard to Do.
This is the most requested song. If you don't mind one more.
I love it.
All right. This is the most requested song that we have of all the hits that you have ever done.
Yeah.
And we do quite a bit of this. Of course, every weekend we have what we call $1 Million Weekend. Every other song is an oldie goldie flashback.
Yeah,
Right. And this is like almost every night, weekly for sure, on the top 10. And it's called Breaking Up is Hard to Do. Would you mind?
I love it.
All right. Neil Sedaka, Breaking Up is Hard to Do.
Down, doobie-doo, down, down. Comma, comma, down, doobie-doo, down, down. Comma, comma, down, doobie-doo, down, down. Breaking up is hard to do. Don't take your love away from me. Don't you leave my heart in misery.
This is the most requested song. If you don't mind one more.
I love it.
All right. This is the most requested song that we have of all the hits that you have ever done.
Yeah.
And we do quite a bit of this. Of course, every weekend we have what we call $1 Million Weekend. Every other song is an oldie goldie flashback. Right. And this is like almost every night, weekly for sure, on the top 10. And it's called Breaking Up is Hard to Do. Would you mind?
I love it.
All right. Neil Sedaka, Breaking Up is Hard to Do.
Down, doobie-doo, down, down. Comma, comma, down, doobie-doo, down, down. Comma, comma, down, doobie-doo, down, down. Breaking up is hard to do. Don't take your love away from me. Don't you leave my heart in misery. If you go, then I'll be blue. 'Cause breaking up is hard to do. Remember when you held me tight and you kissed me all through the night. Think of all that we've been through, and breaking up is hard to do. They say that breaking up is hard to do. Now I know that it's true. Don't say that this is the end. Instead of breaking up, I wish that we were making up again. I beg of you, don't say goodbye. Can't we give our love another try? Come on, baby, let's start anew. 'Cause breaking up is hard to do. They say that breaking up is hard to do. Now I know that it's true. Don't say the end. Instead of breaking up, I wish that we were making up again. I beg of you, don't say goodbye. Can't we give our love another try? Come on, baby, let's start anew. 'Cause breaking up is hard to do. Down, down. Comma, comma, down, doobie-doo, down, down. Comma, comma, down, doobie-doo, down, down. Comma, comma, down, doobie-doo, down,
Oh, that's a gas, man. Neil, thank you so much. At the Eden Rock, now, how many shows?
Another till Sunday night. We have 3 tonight and 3 tomorrow night.
3 tonight and 3 tomorrow night. So if you want to get over to Harry's American Boy and catch one of the most talented young performers of our day, this gentleman right there will be there tonight and tomorrow night, 3 shows nightly, Mr. Neil Sedaka. Neil, thank you very much again. Nice seeing you. Ladies and gentlemen, Neil Sedaka.
Neil Sedaka right there, of course, on TV with the background singers of the Cookies doing the background. Now, you never did any TV shows with Neil Sedaka, right? You never traveled with Neil as the background singers.
No, we never did that.
You never did that?
It would have been nice, though.
And you never backed up Neil on any of his shows, his live shows?
No.
Just only in the studio?
Only in the studio.
Yeah. Now, Margaret, you did a lot of work, a lot of background. Tell me about some of the singers that you worked behind.
Edie Gourmet, Blame It on the Bossa Nova.
Edie Gourmet.
Tony Orlando.
Bless You and Halfway to
Bless You and
Paradise.
Halfway to Paradise.
Uh-huh.
Hey Girl by Freddie Scott.
Oh, great song.
Benny King, Don't Play That Song.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Evie
Little
Sands.
Eva, Little Eva naturally, Evie Sands.
Did you ever work for Mel Torme?
And, oh yes, we did. Mel Torme, I'm coming home, baby.
Yeah, Mel Torme.
Oh, I
That's
love
what-
that
yeah.
song. He was such a beautiful person to work with and easy to work. You know, he was just a beautiful person.
Now, was it Carole King that was getting you all of this work, or did you work for other producers or writers?
You know what? We did a lot. Carol would let us know a lot of things, but I guess our name got out, and people just automatically would call Dorothy and tell her,
Yeah.
You got background. We need you for background.
Let's show the first still picture that we have up there. I want to just take a look at this, and let's take a look at the cookies, and you'll tell me who's who in that picture. That's looks like an album jacket, right, Margaret?
Yes, that's like a CD cover. That's Earl Jean on top, Dorothy to the left, and I'm to the right.
Okay, let's see that next one. Yeah, take a look at that one.
That's the old picture of the original girls. That's Dorothy, Ethel, and Beulah.
And
Cousin
Beulah.
Beulah, yeah, cousin
Yeah,
Beulah.
yeah. And this is one of those
That's
famous
us.
covers.
That's still the.
That's you right
I'm
there,
to the
right?
right, Margaret, Earl
Yeah.
Jean, and Dorothy. Yeah.
You know what I want to do right now? How about doing, I always ask somebody to sing a cappella, but most of the time it's with a group with a cappella. So this will be the first time I think we're doing an a cappella single person, right? Can you do something from your Margaret? I know you
Yes,
got such a gorgeous voice. I'd love to hear it.
We did this one with the Tokens, I think.
Tokens produced it.
Produced this particular one.
And what's this called?
All My Trials.
Oh, All My Trials.
Actually, this is the last song the Cookies recorded.
Yeah.
Was it?
1968 on Warner Brothers Records, yeah.
Okay, let's do it, Margaret. You all set to sing a little bit?
Sure, why not?
Here's Margaret, of course, Ross Williams, one of the original members of the Cookies.
Okay. If living was a thing that money could buy, the rich would live and the poor would die. Oh, my trials, Lord, soon be over. Got a little book with pages 3, and every page spells liberty. All my trials, Lord, soon be over. Too late, my brother, too late, but never mind. All my trials, Lord, soon be over.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I want to tell you something, Margaret. Elvis also did that song on his album. Oh yeah, fantastic! And that's a great song. I love that.
Yes,
all
I
that,
do too.
that gospel music. You
Yeah.
know. Now you talk about some of the people that you backed up. You did probably, and we have similar friends. Tony Orlando, I know since I'm 15 years old, and Tony is such a great guy coming
he was.
from the Hell's Kitchen, you know. And Frankie Deeg also came there from Hell's Kitchen, and we both knew, of course, Tony Orlando. I used to have my shoe shine at the Brill Building, of what you ran through many, many times in the Brill Building, right? But what's remarkable is that Carol called you in to do probably, which was the first song that you did with Tony?
I think it was Bless You.
Was it Bless You?
Yes.
A tremendous song. And then after that was Halfway to Paradise.
Halfway to Paradise.
And then you did every song on his album, except probably for maybe 5 songs.
Yeah,
right?
it was 17 songs, and out of the 17, 5 we did not do. We did.
Yeah.
It would be 14 we did. Yeah.
And then, of course, his records went on to Epic Records.
Oh yes.
And Neil Sedaka was on RCA Records. So I guess you were backing up artists that were on all different record labels.
And Columbia as well.
And Columbia as well, you know.
Yes.
But I want to take you back to the session. We have something here with Tony Orlando on some clips of albums and all. But I want everybody to listen very carefully to the background singers of which Margaret Williams was on this as part of the Cookies. Watch this with Tony Orlando.
I want to be your lover, but your friend is all I stay. I'm only halfway to paradise, so near yet so far away. I long for your lips to kiss my lips, but just when I think they may, you leave me halfway to paradise, so near yet so far away. Being close to you is almost heaven, but seeing you can do just so much. It hurts me so to know your heart's a treasure, and that my heart is forbidden to touch. So put your sweet lips close to my lips and tell me that's where we're gonna stay. Don't leave me halfway to paradise, so near yet so far away. Oh, so near yet so far away. Yeah, so near yet so far away.
Right here, halfway to paradise, Tony Orlando, and not Dawn, but Tony Orlando and the Cookies. Margaret, did you ever think about that? Tony later on, of course, comes together with Thelma Hopkins and Joyce Vincent,
Yes.
California, and becomes Tony Orlando and Dawn.
Yeah.
You might have been the Tony Orlando and Dawn.
It's
A couple of
possible,
years
could have
separation,
been.
right?
Could have been, yeah.
Paul, you have something to say about the Cookies?
Yes, Margaret, I got a question for you. When
Yeah.
you were going to the studio with whoever it was, whether it was Carole King or Neil Sedaka, would they say to you, Margaret, I'm the Cookies, do the song this way, or would you listen to the song and make up your own arrangements for the backgrounds?
No, we always did the arrangements. We
Yeah.
always did the arrangements.
Does it
whatever
bring
they
back
showed
great
us.
memories, Margaret?
Oh, yes, it really does.
Yeah.
Had a lot
Now,
of fun.
were you in the studio when Tony was singing it, or did you do the background at a different time when Tony came in and did it without you?
Sometimes we would go in the studio and put on the background.
Uh-huh.
Or either we would go in there and his lead would already be on, and we would put the background on.
You put the background
Yeah.
after his lead.
Yes.
Were you doing that with the musicians, or were the tracks for the musicians laid down already?
Sometimes. Most of the times with the tracks.
Most of the times with the tracks,
Yeah.
the musicians laid it down too.
Yeah.
You came in and did it.
Right.
Now let me ask you this: being pros that you were, how long did it usually take to do a background of one of these singers?
You know, that depends on the kind of song it was. I guess you can put it that way. Most of the time, it didn't take us about 15, 20 minutes to get a song together.
15,
All they
20
had to
minutes.
do, yeah, maybe less than that, because, you know, I guess that's why we had so much work, because we caught on fast. All they had to do was just show us what to do,
Uh-huh.
how it goes. You know,
Right.
oohs, ahs, or whatever words we had to say.
Yeah.
And you just show us how you wanted it to go.
Uh-huh.
And the harmony, I know for some reason, I don't know what it was, but our harmony just fell together. We didn't have to look at each other and say anything. We just knew right away, we could hear what we had to do because we knew our notes.
Did you do a lot of rehearsing? I mean, with your cousins? I mean, of course, the Cookies, Earl Jean, yourself, off premises? I mean, were you singing and then all of a sudden Carol calls you?
Never. Really, never. I don't believe we had to rehearse.
Did you read music?
No, we didn't read music.
You never read it?
No, it's just...
And what part did you do? Were you doing the...
I'm the top.
You were on the
soprano,
top.
yeah.
You were the soprano. Yeah. Frankie D., you have any questions of Margaret?
Well, you know, I can relate with what Margaret said. I remember back when I was a kid, I mean, singing a harmony just fell into place.
Yeah.
I sang every day on the street corner and in the hallways.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anytime I was asked to do a song, there was hardly any rehearsing.
And you know the difference today, Frankie? It's not that your harmony falls into place, your hair falls into place.
It always does.
He's got some fantastic hair. I'm losing my hair, Margaret, but his hair is there. Paulie, look at him. He's going. His hair is going out, too. Right? But you know what's interesting? You have all of this great music. Carol's calling you. This one is calling you and all. Frankie, now, you know a little story about Little Eva and Earl, right? Earl Jean?
That's right. Earl Jean actually introduced Little Eva to Carole King and Jerry Goffin and suggested that she be their babysitter. And I know you got a great story about that.
Yeah, well, I had the opportunity. Now, of course, before I get into my story, tell me about the Cookies. Now, Earl Jean meets, of course, Carole King, introduces, of course, Eva Narcissus Boyd, which is Little Eva, right? And now the Cookies come in when in this whole thing? What happens there?
When we would go to Carol's to rehearse a song.
In Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn.
In the house?
In the house.
Yeah.
She had one daughter at the time.
Right.
Lulu. We called her Lulu. And she needed a babysitter because she had to go back and forth to the city all the time.
Right.
So Earl Jean knew Lil Eva. And I think they lived maybe next door to each other or in the same area. And she told Carol, she said, well, I think I have somebody. I'll ask her because she's looking for a job, you know.
Right.
Because she just came from North Carolina. And she brought the next time, she called Lil Eva, got Lil Eva, and well, I guess she spoke to her when we got back to Coney Island. And Eva met with Carol and became the babysitter.
So now she became the babysitter. I heard also like the housekeeper. She probably lived in. I
yes,
guess,
she
at
did.
that
She
particular
did.
time, right?
Yes.
Now here's a funny thing. You came from North Carolina.
Yes.
She came from Belhaven, North Carolina.
And I came from Winston-Salem.
And you weren't far from Eva at that time, but never met her down there.
No.
You meet her up here.
Yes.
Now you're doing background singing.
Yes.
And you keep meeting Carol at a house.
Yes.
Now you go into the house and you got little Eva there now,
yes.
right? Now Eva was not even thinking about singing.
No,
think, right?
I know.
So how did that take place? How did Eva all of a sudden start to sing The Locomotion?
Well, you know, they were writing, I think they were writing Locomotion. And Eva said that she was in the kitchen, I think maybe washing dishes or something, and she was just moving, just dancing with the way they were playing the piano and whatever. And they looked at her, and she was singing the song with them. And they asked her to come in and sing the song, and that's what she did.
Now here's what happens with me. I'm singing with Paul Simon at the time under a group called Tico and the Triumphs in 1961. We're on the Amy record label, and we were doing something, and Paul said to me, would you like to take a trip to go see Carole King in Brooklyn, New York? And when we go into the house, I don't remember if Jerry Goffin was there, but I definitely know that Eva was there, and so was Carole King. And Carol said to Paul, do you want to hear a new song that I'm working on, which was The Locomotion, okay? Now, The Locomotion was supposed to be for Dee Dee Sharp.
Right.
And when I spoke to Dee Dee Sharp told me exactly what had happened. The song was coming to her. When Don Kirshner heard the song with Eva doing it, they said, why change this? It sounds so good. I'm going to speak to Dee Dee. Now, Dee Dee was very close also. She knew the people, you know, Carol and, of course, the people. Right. And she said, why am I going to get involved with something that's already been done in the right way, and passed up the song altogether. And that was the story. And so we were there when this Locomotion was taking place. And you then probably get called in at the time to do the background singing somewhere in the studio. Now, Eva all of a sudden becomes a star. She wasn't even doing any singing anywhere until Carol's Locomotion.
Right.
Then you back up little Eva on the Turkey Trot.
Yes.
And all of her songs, whatever she did do. Keep Your Hands on My Baby,
Oh,
which was a
Smokey
great song.
Locomotion.
Smokey, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Smokey
And what about the
Irvin song?
Would you like to
Swing on a Star?
Yeah. You were in the
And
background there too, right?
Megillah too.
Yeah.
And the
with
Megillah
the Megillah. Oh, yeah, Megillah.
Almost sounds like a Jewish book, the Megillah.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm going to do right now. Again, we don't have you there except for your voices. But your voices are the key to all these songs.
Right.
Let's go to this one with Lil Eva, The Locomotion. Listen to the background. It's Margaret and the Cookies. Take it away.
Everybody's doing a brand new dance now. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. I know you get to like it if you give it a chance now. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. My little baby says I can do it with thee. It's easier than learning your ABC. So come on, do the locomotion with me. You gotta swing your hips now. Come on, baby. Jump up, jump back. Well, I think you got the knack. Whoa, whoa, now that you can do it, let's make a change now. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. A chugga motion like a railroad train now. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. Do it nice and easy now, don't lose control. A little bit of rhythm and a lot of soul. Come on, do the locomotion with me. Move around the floor in a locomotion. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. Do it holding hands if you get the notion. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. There's never been a dance that's so easy to do. It even makes you happy when you're feeling blue. So come on, do the locomotion with me. You gotta swing your hips now. Come on, that's right. You're doing fine. Come on, baby. Jump up, jump back. You're looking
Right here with Mickey B, the Prince of Rock and Roll, and of course on Madhouse TV. And what a night it is tonight. We have a little technical difficulties because, don't forget, we are live television. There's not many shows that are live television, so you bear with us, and we'll bear with you. And we got Margaret Williams, Ross here, or Margaret Ross Williams, one of the originators of course, the Cookies. And Margaret, you know, every time I sit here, it amazes me about this history. I was part of it on radio and TV, but I love when we get into the history because without the knowledge that you give us, we would never be able to remember all of these different stories. Paul, you have something about the chiffons, right?
I have something really interesting to bring up. Of course, all the songs you sang, you did the backgrounds on. A lot of songs you did demos for.
Yes.
But there was a song where you recorded the demo for it, and they took off, I guess Earl Jean was the lead on it originally on one fine day. Left your background voices on there and put the chiffons voices on top of it.
Yeah, I remember Queen Carol wrote the song. Earl Jean did the lead on it, and naturally we did the background. But when the song came up, we realized that it was given to the chiffons. And I would hear the record on radio. And I was saying, why am I hearing myself?
So the chiffons were overdubbed with your background?
They put the lead on, but the background was us. The Cookies.
Wasn't even the chiffons background?
No.
No, the chiffon.
It was the Cookies in the background with.
We did the background. They did not take that background out.
With Judy Craig Bennett doing the lead?
Yeah.
And you're in the background?
Yes.
This is an amazing story.
I kept hearing, you know, when I would hear it,
Yeah.
I would say to myself, why am I hearing myself? And I hear Dorothy and Jeannie. They didn't take the background out, but it, I let it go.
I know.
Somebody
This
told me.
was the same. Right. This was the
top
same
of
thing that
Cookies
happened with, of course, Darlene Love,
Mhm.
who was original lead singer on a lot of Crystal songs, and flew out, and the Blossoms were doing the backgrounds on the other Phil Spector songs. So
see?
there's a lot of mixture of a lot of
Yes.
different things going on. Frankie, how do you like that story? That the Cookies were original chiffons on a song "One Fine Day."
Yeah. And the Cookies are doing it's their harmony in the background.
That's right.
On the chiffon song. Excuse me, Mickey.
Yeah, it's just an amazing thing when you hear all of this music, and you never know what happened with a lot of different singers and who backed up people and so forth, and so, or who was called in to do the session, or whatever it was, But of course, we're here with Margaret Ross, and Margaret, I'll tell you something. You are something. You got some tremendous background in music and all. You know what I want to do? How about we do something? I know you did that 1, 2, 3, right? And maybe we'll do it right from the couch, all right?
Oh,
And we'll
okay.
play a little track with you, 1, 2, 3. You backed up Len Barry on this song. 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Now, Len Barry, was that written by Carole King too? Was that produced by
she
Carole?
produced
It was
it.
written by
I think she-
Carole?
It was written
It
by
was.
her? Okay.
1,
It's
2,
the number
3.
one record too, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
it
he,
was number
of
one.
course, he leaves the Dovells, goes on to have this 1, 2, 3. You get the call to come into the studio and back up Len Barry.
Yeah.
So did you meet Len at the session
Yes,
at that time?
he was
You
he was
did.
there with us.
Yeah,
we were there.
that'd be interesting for Len, because Len, when he worked with the Dovells, was all guys, right?
Mhm.
Dion, when he worked with the Belmonts, it was all guys. When he went over to do his first song with by himself, he had girl background singers, which he wasn't really thrilled about, not because they didn't sound great. He wasn't used to being with girls.
Right.
What did Len Barry think about having girl background
And
singers?
he was very nice about it.
He
I
was.
mean, I believe we had a live band at the time.
Uh-huh.
And we were in our little booth.
Yeah.
And he was in his little area where he did his singing, and we did the background. And
Oh, that's
it was
fantastic.
very nice. He liked it. He says, "Oh, it came out great." You know.
I'll tell you what, we don't have Len Barry with us, but we have Margaret. So, Margaret, I'm going to take you and move you from the background. I'm going to make you Len Barry. So you're really, Len Barry is really here with a wig on top. Okay, let's take away. Let's do a little 1, 2, 3. And of course, that's one of the tracks that we have right now. And we're going to sing it live, okay?
Okay,
All right, so let's get ready.
It's a little short version.
A little short version of 1, 2, 3. Here we go.
One, two, three. Oh, that's how elementary it's gonna be. Come on, let's fall in love. It's easy, like taking candy from a baby. ABC, falling in love with you was easy for me, and you can do it too. It's easy, like taking candy from a baby. Yeah, baby, there's nothing hard about love. Basically, it's as easy as pie. The hard part is living without love. Without your love, baby, I would die. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. We always was crazy about this song. Yeah, it's a great song. Yeah.
Margaret, when you continue, of course, doing backgrounds for everybody all around, and how long did that actually last, that period of time, from, let's say, Neil Sedaka was about 1960,
60,
right?
yeah.
About
And
60.
you were doing backgrounds until about what time
About
period?
67.
Yeah.
About
Yeah, the last song we
1967,
did
yeah.
was All My Trials.
All My Trials,
All My
yeah.
Trials.
Okay, and then when does it happen that the Cookies wind up with their own song?
Oh, you're talking about Chains and
Yeah.
Don't Say Nothing Bad? Well, I guess after all the work we had been doing, they were talking about writing something for us, and they did. They put Chains together.
And that was Carole.
And that was Carole. And
Now, Carole, and that takes place, what year was that?
62.
62. So you were doing work for since about 3, 4 years, 5 years. No,
Yeah.
about 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And then finally, your day comes.
Yes.
And you were on Dimension Records, right, at that
Yes,
time? Dimension
Dimension,
Records.
yes.
And I had mentioned to you that I knew a little something about your record label because of that little indent that you had in the middle of it, you see? Because when I was on Amy Records, we had people who pressed the record label for us and made an indent, was the first label to do it, and then they pressed for Dimension and then for Columbia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was the middle, that's how that all came about,
Okay.
with that little middle over there. You know, here's what we're gonna do. Let's take a little, we'll take a little break, okay? When we come back, we're gonna catch Margaret with some more songs right from our stage.
Okay.
When the Prince of Rock and Roll returns with Frankie D from Port St. Lucie, Florida, and of course, Paul Aranti right here, sitting on the couch. We'll be right back with more right after this. Don't go away.
Hey, I'm Tom Mealy from the Harrison Law Group. You know, soft tissue injury, that's no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. Don't waste valuable time going to firms who don't get it and can't do it. Call 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
Ray, I don't know. Are you sure clicking this thing will get us online?
Well, try dragging it. Faster. You're just a mouse click away from a better way to rent movies. Blockbuster Total Access. Movies through the mail plus movies through the store. One low price.
Here's the problem. We forgot to plug it in.
Oh! Don't even think about it! Get a free trial at your Blockbuster store or Blockbuster.com.
When your cable's on the fritz, you get frustrated. When you get frustrated, your daughter imitates. When your daughter imitates, she gets thrown out of school. When she gets thrown out of school, she meets undesirables. When she meets undesirables, she ties the knot with undesirables. And when she ties the knot with undesirables, you get a grandson with a dog collar. Don't have a grandson with a dog collar. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. When your cable company keeps you on hold, you get angry. When you get angry, you go blow off steam. When you go blow off steam, accidents happen. When accidents happen, you get an eye patch. When you get an eye patch, people think you're tough. When people think you're tough, people want to see how tough. And when people want to see how tough, you wake up in a roadside ditch. Don't wake up in a roadside ditch. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. When you pay too much for cable, you throw things. When you throw things, people think you have anger issues. When people think you have anger issues, your schedule clears up. When your schedule clears up, you grow a scraggly beard. When you grow a scraggly beard, you start taking in stray animals. And when you start taking in stray animals, you can't stop taking in stray animals. Stop taking in stray animals. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
One resident describes her horrifying experience when she first realized the complex was on fire.
I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Well, I woke up to go give me a cold pop. Then I thought somebody was barbecuing. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Then I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes or nothing. Jesus, I ran for my life. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Jesus, 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 it's a fire. Oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
back here live on Mickey B's Jukebox Review, and of course with Margaret Ross Williams, one of the original members of the great group called Cookies that backed up so many different groups on the West Coast. And Margaret, let me ask you a question. On the East Coast. On the West Coast, did you do any background singers at all? Any backgrounds on the East Coast?
No.
Nothing at all?
No.
Okay, because that time, Paulie, the Blossoms were out there, and they were doing it. On the East Coast, there was the Sweet Inspirations,
and of course,
the Cookies with Margaret. Margaret, there's a song that, Paulie, tell me a little bit about this, because they changed their names. They're not the Cookies sometimes. Tell me the different names that the Cookies had.
Okay, they were known as the Cinderellas, the Palisades, and the Honeybees. And they had no idea they changed the names.
They didn't know that they changed their names?
Not a clue.
No.
They went in, Margaret, you went into the studio and recorded songs thinking that you were the Cookies?
We were the Cookies.
But when it came out on the record, you were somebody else.
That's what, yeah, they did. We didn't know they changed it.
And who did that? Who changed that?
We don't know.
You don't know who did it?
And you know what the funny thing is? All the Cookies songs recorded under other names, Margaret sang the leads on all those songs.
Yes.
And you're singing the leads?
Yes.
Now, I love a couple of the songs that you did. What we're going to hear is she was the lead singer on a group called the Cinderellas, which were really the Cookies.
Of course.
And let's listen to it. Please Don't
Wake Me.
Wake Me. Take it away, Margaret. Absolutely fantastic. And Margaret, I want to tell you something. I hear a couple of things that happened there. I hear those shout-out-lots like it was part of the Shirelles. I hear a little flavor that you almost sound like Ronnie Spector on the song. I hear a Phil Spector sound in there, except I don't really hear too much baritone sax.
No, you don't, no.
If they put that in there, we would have had that. And it sounds fantastic, right, Frankie? What a tremendous sound. I mean, just tremendous sound. Yeah. And that was recorded as the
Cinderellas.
As the Cinderellas, which were really the Cookies, right? Now, when you did that, so when that song came out, what label was that on?
Dimension.
That was on Dimension as a different name. So all of these names of these different groups were all on Dimension, and it was on Cookies. Why would they have done something like that?
You know, when we did songs we did were demos.
Right.
And they just turned them over and made records. You know, they turned them into records.
Like the Honeybees, One Wonderful Night. That was a demo.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. You know what I want to do? I want to do another song just like that because it gives you that full feeling of the girls in the background. Tell me a little bit about I Never Dream, I'll Never Dream?
Yes.
And that was also these...
That was done as the Cookies.
That was the Cookies.
It was one of the few songs that Margaret sang lead on when it was released under the Cookies.
Margaret, tell me a little bit. You sang lead on... How many songs do you think you did with the Cookies that you were the lead singer?
About 12.
About 12 songs.
Yes.
Earl Jean did most of them, of course.
Yes.
Anybody else sing lead on these sessions?
I did a couple of things.
Uh-huh.
The Flip Side of Chain, softly.
Yeah, the flip side of Chain was, what was the name?
Stranger in My Arms.
Stranger in My Arms. Are you ready to do another one?
Sure.
You all set? Take it away. Here she is, Margaret Williams Ross. Margaret Ross Williams. Oh, absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
And, of course, Margaret Ross Williams, part of the Cookies, will be joining us at the Patchogue Theater on June the 29th with the Duprees and Kenny Vance and the Planetones. Don't miss that show. We only have maybe a couple of seats left. I don't even think they're left anymore. And you never want to miss the Cookies. And this is legendary.
That's right.
And, of course, joining them in the Fireflies and Somewhere in Time. And
the Dubs.
Manhattan Skyline, Cleveland still in the Dubs, the Duprees and Kenny Vance.
Big show.
It's just a tremendous show. And hopefully you enjoy the shows that we bring to you at the theater as well as right here on Madhouse TV. Don't forget, every Tuesday night we're here from 8 o'clock to 9 with the history of rock and roll and some of the great music. And, of course, there's people like Paul Laurenti and my co-host Frankie D, and people like Mikey Cohn, who's out there, and other dear friends of ours that bring this tremendous music to us. Margaret, I think we have time for maybe 2 songs, okay? We have time for 2 songs to do? 1 song? Then I'll tell you what we do. Let's queue up. We have for 2? Okay, then let's do this. There was a song that you do, Margaret. I don't know if you ever backed up Sam Cooke on anything, but I do know you do a song called You Send Me.
Yes. And she kills it.
And you knock 'em dead. You're all set for You Send Me?
Okay.
Let's do it right now. Margaret Williams, of course, right here from the Cookies, and a Sam Cooke favorite. Listen to this.
One of my favorites.
You do, yeah. Darling, you thrill me. Darling, you thrill me. Darling, you thrill me. Oh, yes, you do. Oh, yes, you do. At first, I thought it was infatuation, but ooh, it lasted so long. And now I find myself wanting, yeah, I wanna marry you and take you home. You thrill me, darling, you thrill me, darling, you thrill me. I guess you do. Oh, yes you do. At first, I thought it was infatuation, but ooh, it lasted so long. And now I find myself wanting, yeah, I wanna marry you and take you home. You thrill me, darling, you send me, darling, you send me, you thrill me, you send me, yeah, send me, thrill me, darling, you send me, darling, you send me, I say you send me, you thrill me, yeah, you send me, you thrill me, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Margaret, that was some job on that song. And let me tell you something. You haven't lost your voice.
That's for sure.
And you haven't lost your shape either. And I just want to say something about that. You're not only a mother, you're a grandmother, and a great-grandma.
Yes.
And you are doing fantastic. We're glad that you're on the Madhouse TV show with us and going to be with us at Patchogue Theater for that fabulous show. And I want to thank June 29th. I want to thank Frankie D. down in Port St. Lucie, Florida, and of course Paul Aranti, who's always welcome here, my historian, and of course Margaret from the wonderful group called The Cookies. And thank you, Margaret, for being here with us. Continued success to you. Thank you. And let's do one more song, the one that really brought you to the top of the charts, right? It was Chains, okay? And until the next time, from Mickey B, Paul Aranti, Margaret, Frankie D, God bless all of you. We'll see you next Tuesday night from 8 to 9 o'clock.
Chains, my baby's got me locked up in chains, and they ain't the kind that you can see. Whoa, these chains of love got a hold on me, yeah. Chains, well, I can't break away from these chains. I can't run around, 'cause I'm not free. Whoa, these chains of love won't let me be, yeah. Now let me tell you, pretty baby, well, I think you're fine. I'd like to love you, but darling, I'm in prison by these chains. My baby's got me locked up in chains, and they ain't the kind that you can see. Oh, these chains of love
believe me when I tell you, well, your lips look sweet. I'd like to kiss them, but darling, I'm in prison by these chains. My baby's got me locked up in chains, and they ain't the kind that you can see. Oh, these chains of love got a hold on me, yeah. Chains,
my baby.
chains of love. Chains of love. Chains of love. Chains of love.
So long, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
A lot of fun right here.